Hello, my dear students. I am your science teacher, Mrs. Priyanka Raut. Today we are starting with our topic nutrition in living organisms. I want your complete attention while I am teaching. Please listen to the audio uh, for each slide very carefully and patiently. So let's proceed with the topic. Look at the two pictures which are shown over here, picture 1 and picture 2. Observe and tell me which child looks healthier, the one in picture 1 or in picture 2. Yes, it is the child in picture 1. Now think, what must be the reason for the difference in their health? What made you think that the child in picture 1 is healthier compared to the one in picture 2? Yes, their physical appearance, the healthy body which the child in picture 1 has, and a weak structure which the child in picture 2 has. Correct? So here we get an idea that maybe the child in picture 2 is not getting healthy food or is not taken care of, whereas the child in picture 1 is getting well nourished and healthy food. Okay? So dear students, when a person doesn't get enough of nutrients or well nourished food, the person undergoes malnourishment. So the child in picture 2 is the result of malnutrition. So let us see what is the meaning of the word malnutrition in the next slide. Okay, so malnutrition is defined by WHO as the cellular imbalance between the supply of nutrients and energy and the body's demand. Means the supply of nutrients which is required by the body is not enough as compared to the body's demand. Now, nourishment is required for growth, maintenance, and different functions of the body. Thus, from whatever we have seen from the earlier slide, we can say that to be healthy, we need proper nutrition. Isn't it? Yes. So let us see what is nutrition and what does a nutrition rich food comprise of. So let us see what is nutrition. So when I say I had full nourished food, I mean that all the required nutrients were present in my food and now my body is utilizing these nutrients, right? So we can say that nutrition is a process by which the body takes in food and uses the food for production of energy. So nutrition is one of the most important factors in keeping a healthy, long living body. So to have a healthy and a long living body, nutrients are required. So we need a lot of intake of nutrients in our daily food. So let us see what is a nutrient and which are the nutrients required for our body for its growth. So let us see what are nutrients. Nutrients are the essentials for the normal functioning of the human body. So as we have petrol and diesel used in a vehicle to move, similarly our human body requires some essentials or some important components in our body. These are nutrients. So let us see which are the important nutrients which our body requires. It includes carbohydrates, proteins, fats and lipids, vitamins, minerals and water. Now these nutrients, depending on how much quantity they are required in, they are further classified as macronutrients and micronutrients. So among these nutrients, the one which are required in larger quantities for our body, they are known as macronutrients. Okay, but the ones which are required in lesser quantities, they are termed as micronutrients. Remember, micro means small. So we will see further in detail what is macronutrients and micronutrients. So as I discussed earlier, macronutrients, the word macro stands for big. So you need these nutrients in larger amounts. Whereas micronutrients, the word micro stands for small. So you need to eat small amounts of micronutrients. You must include them in your diet because your body cannot make them. Okay. So here, let us see which are these nutrients. So macronutrients comprise of fats, carbohydrates and proteins. So they are required in larger amounts by our body. And micronutrients comprise of vitamins and minerals. Okay. And water is anyways required for our body because we know that more than 60% of our body comprises of water. Okay, so it's one of the essential component of our body. So we have discussed what are nutrients, what is nourishment, and what are the different types of nutrients required by our body. But we did not discuss that why is it required to take nutrients on daily basis. What will happen if I don't eat nourished food? Have you ever thought about it? Yes, so my dear students, we human beings need to consume a balanced diet which contains different types of nutrients. So the main nutrients that body needs are carbohydrates, which provide us with energy, proteins, which are used for growth and repair. Repair means you get hurt but you heal. Your injuries, you get bruised, it heals. So this is because of proteins in your body. Fats to store energy. Vitamins and minerals to keep your body healthy. Nowadays, in this phase of COVID-19, we keep on listening to news saying that take multivitamins. Yes? So here vitamins are required and minerals both are required to boost up our energy, boost up our immunity and keep us healthy. The amount of each food type needed is related to the proportions in the food pyramid. So here in the food pyramid, they have shown what are the amounts of food which are required. So you can see carbohydrates, bread, they have shown there. So it is rich in carbohydrates. Then you have the food which is rich in proteins. Then you have the fatty food, and the last you have the vitamins and the minerals. So as we discussed earlier, macronutrients and micronutrients. This pyramid is just for your explanation. Okay. So till now we have discussed that nutrition is required for us to grow, for our well-being. What do you think? Even plants require nutrition? Yes, plants also require nutrients, and they have different ways in which they get these nutrients. So, not like us by cooking food and then eating it, they have different modes of nutrition. So, we are going to see now different modes of nutrition in plants. So, mode of nutrition in plants is classified on the basis of from where do they get their food. Okay, so we have the first classification, the first level, that is autotrophs and heterotrophs. This we have learned in our lower classes also, right? And then further, heterotrophs are classified into insectivorous, parasites, symbiotic, and saprophytic. Yes, we are going to learn each one of them in detail. So first we start with the autotrophs. So let us see what are autotrophs. Autotrophs are those organisms which are capable of preparing their own food. The word autotroph, if you split it, the meaning of the word auto is self, and trophs means nutrition. So the ones which prepare their own food or take care of their own nutrition are known as autotrophs. So in autotrophic nutrition, the organisms make organic compounds from inorganic raw materials. Means inorganic raw materials are sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, iron and sulfur or other minerals present in the nature. Now if you find out, there mostly it includes plants, some monoeras and protista including the algae in autotrophs. So all these plants have chlorophyll which helps them to prepare their own food. So here in autotrophic nutrition we have two types of processes which help in preparing food. One is photosynthesis and the other is chemosynthesis. Yes, so we have a picture here which is explaining us the process of photosynthesis. You can see here the plants, when they are exposed to sunlight, with the help of the carbon dioxide around them and water, they undergo the process of photosynthesis, and as a result, they release out oxygen and they form glucose, which is stored in their leaves, and it is utilized by them whenever required. So here they store this glucose and use it for energy. So this is the process of photosynthesis. So here the raw materials used are sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. Okay. And as a result we are getting glucose, which is nothing but a form of sugar, and oxygen. Now if the same thing I want to write in a equation form, how will I write it? Just have a look at the chemical equation which will be shown further. Okay, so look at the reaction given here, chemical reaction. The first step shows the reaction written in words, and the second step shows the reaction written in molecular formula. So carbon dioxide molecular formula is CO2, water is H2O, food is C6H12O6, that is the formula for glucose, and oxygen is O2. Now you might think, why is that 6 written over there? That is to balance the equation. So here balancing means we are trying to make the count of all the elements, whether it is carbon, oxygen or hydrogen, same on both the sides of the arrow. Okay, so this balancing we will be teaching you in detail when we resume back to school. But for now, just remember, for balancing purpose, our reaction becomes 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O, which gives C6H12O6 plus 6 O2. You will be doing written practice to learn this reaction. Now on the arrow you can see sunlight and chlorophyll is written. Whenever we write a chemical reaction, the conditions which are required for the reaction to happen is written on the arrow. So the condition over here for this reaction is sunlight is required and the plant must have chlorophyll. Okay, so when you write the reaction, do not forget to write these things on the arrow. So now let us see how can we define photosynthesis. So now when I am defining photosynthesis, you will be looking at the reaction and try to relate to it. So, from the above understanding, we can define photosynthesis as the process in which a plant prepares its own food with the help of chlorophyll, which is present in their leaves, water and nutrients from the soil, and carbon dioxide from the air. So, to just remember the different components which are required for photosynthesis to happen and frame your definition. Clear? So dear students, so far we have learned about autotrophs. We learned that they undergo photosynthesis. Then we learned what is photosynthesis, its reaction, and the definition. But have you ever thought, where does photosynthesis take place? Yes, of course, in green plants. But which body part of a plant? Yes. So let us see where and how does photosynthesis take place. Yes, so here photosynthesis takes place in leaves. You can see in the diagram in a form of flow chart they have explained. So the leaves have a layer of mesophyll. Now in the cytoplasm of the mesophyll cells, you have the chloroplast which is present. Chloroplast is known as the one of the organelles. Okay. Now organelle means a component of a plant cell. Okay. Then these chloroplasts, they have green pigments into them known as chlorophyll. Can you see those green coins, stack of coins? These are nothing but the chlorophyll pigment. So here the process of photosynthesis takes place. Okay. So now the food is already prepared in the leaves, okay, and the energy is being stored in the form of glucose. But what if the roots of the plant or the stem of the plant requires energy? They need some way to transfer this energy which is stored in form of glucose. As in human beings, whatever we eat is being digested in our stomach, and the food then stores, and then our stomach stores the nutrients, and they are taken by our body, and this energy is being circulated with the help of our circulatory system, which includes blood, and the blood helps to transfer this energy to all parts of the body. Similarly, in plants also, we need some way or some transport system to transport this glucose or the food which is being stored to all parts of the plant. So let us see in the next slide the transport system in plants. So students, in the earlier slide we have seen that photosynthesis takes place in chloroplast, which has chlorophyll, and this chlorophyll helps to prepare food and store. Now this stored food is utilized by the entire plant for its survival. But if the food is prepared in the leaves, how does this food transfer from one part of the plant to another part? So like in our human body, we have our circulatory system. Here in plants also we have a transport system. The main tissues which are involved in the transport system are xylem and phloem. Now this xylem and phloem, they are present in the inner layers of the stem. Now you can see here there's a cross section of a stem of a plant, and they have shown here how is xylem and phloem present. So students, observe the diagram given here. You can see this a small diagram, the yellow one shown in between. You can see xylem, like it is shown in the center, like a yellow circle in the center, and phloem is in the outer ring. Now xylem does the work of pulling the water and the minerals from the soil and making them available to the plant. So xylem is the tissue which is working against the gravitational force, and it is helping to absorb the water and pull it in the upward direction, supplying the water to all the parts of the plant. Whereas phloem is present in a little outer layer, or you can say the outer rings of the stem. It does the work of transporting food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. So it will transfer the food right from the tip of the plant till the root of the plant. Okay. Now, though they have a transport system, plants do not have an excretory or a digestive system like us. Okay. So this process of photosynthesis is one of the way of preparation of food in autotrophs. So dear students, in the earlier slide we learned about photosynthesis. How does it happen? What are the different tissues involved in photosynthesis and the transport system in plants? Now we are going to learn about chemosynthesis. Now this is a method of preparation of food found in those plants which are deprived of sunlight. So chemosynthesis uses energy released from chemical reactions to produce food for organisms. Therefore, we have the term chemosynthesis. Chemo stands for chemical, and synthesis stands for preparation. Okay. So organisms that carry out photosynthesis are microbes, usually bacteria, that live far away from the sun. Means they are found deep into the ocean. So they are found on the ocean bed, and since the sunlight cannot pass over there, they cannot prepare their food with the process of photosynthesis. Therefore, they prepare their food with the help of this method known as chemosynthesis. This is just for your information. Okay. It is also found that chemosynthetic bacteria were one of the oldest life form on Earth. So students, have you ever heard about biogeochemical cycles? Yes, here the word itself tells us. Bio means life is involved. Geo means your geography or your nature is involved. And chemical means chemical components are involved. So whenever you have any chemical components in the nature which are transferred through the natural cycle and they are returned back to the nature, it forms a biogeochemical cycles. So there are various cycles which take place in our nature on daily basis. So let us see which are these cycles and let us see which one we are going to study in this chapter. One more thing, always remember that all matter cycles. So all the matter present in the nature undergoes a cycle and all cycles matter. It means that all the cycles are very important for the survival of all the living organisms on Earth. Here are some types of biogeochemical cycles. We have water cycle, we have oxygen cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, and sulfur cycle. We have learned about water cycle in our lower classes. How is rainfall produced? Correct? Today we are going to learn about nitrogen cycle. So let us see how is nitrogen captured from the atmosphere and how is it made available to us. Now we have learned that our body comprises of proteins, correct? So here when I talk about proteins in our body means we have nitrogen also in our body. Yes, but our body is not capable of taking in atmospheric nitrogen. We can only take in atmospheric oxygen. But nitrogen is equally important for our survival. So here we have ways of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen and making it available or converting it into simpler form in which our body can absorb the nitrogen. So let us see what are these ways of fixing of nitrogen. And this nitrogen fixation forms a cycle, which is nothing but the nitrogen cycle. So dear students, nitrogen fixation takes place in two ways. One is by non-biological and the other way is by biological means. So let us see each one of them in detail. Now let us see what happens in biological fixation. Now the word biological tells us that there are living organisms involved in this fixation. So here you can see in the cycle drawn over here or the flow chart with the help of the diagram, the nitrogen in the air is fixed by the bacteria known as rhizobium or azotobacter. These are the bacteria present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. Now, they undergo nitrification to form nitrates and nitrites. You can see NO2 minus and NO3 minus. These are simpler forms of atmospheric nitrogen. Now, this nitrogen is being absorbed by the plant, and this bacteria who is helping to convert the atmospheric nitrogen is also able to survive in the leguminous plants, okay, in the roots of the leguminous plants. So they are getting their food, staying over there, and in the same process they are also helping to convert the nitrogen into nitrates. Now these nitrates are now in the simpler form, and therefore the plant is able to absorb them for its growth. And when we consume these plants, we are able to get nitrogen for our growth. So this is how it reaches to us. Okay. Now we also have a denitrifying bacteria which does the work of returning back the nitrogen, the excess of nitrogen which is converted to nitrates, and it is being transferred back to the atmosphere. So here you have nitrifying bacteria also and denitrifying. Denitrifying bacteria, the name is Bacillus, which will try to separate the nitrogen and release it into the atmosphere. Now even animals who are consuming these plants, they are going to get nitrogen, but when they excrete out the waste, all the waste is going to get decomposed, and again the nitrogen is going to get back into the atmosphere. Now who is going to decompose the dead remains or the excreted matter? These are the denitrifying bacteria. Okay. So this is how the level of nitrogen is maintained in our atmosphere. So who is helping us to maintain this level? It is the plants. So again, as in oxygen, even here all the microorganisms present in the soil, the plants, they're equally important in the nitrogen cycle. So this is the biological nitrogen fixation. So students, now let us see how does atmospheric nitrogen take place. So here in this cycle, the atmospheric nitrogen gets split. It is present in diatomic state, that is N2. Now when there is lightning, because of the energy absorbed by the lightning, the nitrogen molecules, they split, forming nitrogen atoms, and they start combining with the oxygen present in the atmosphere, forming NO, nitrous oxide. Now this nitrous oxide further again combines with one more molecule of oxygen, forming nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2. Now this NO2 further combines with rain. Now after lightning and thunder we have rain, right? So by the time there is rain, we have NO2 which is formed in the atmosphere. This NO2 reacts with rainwater to form nitric acid, which is HNO3. Now this nitric acid comes down along with the rainwater and gets absorbed into the earth's surface. So the soil, they absorb HNO3 and makes this nitrogen available for the plants to grow. And this is how nitrogen from the atmosphere, with the help of the energy obtained from lightning, is brought to the microorganisms present in the soil and to the plants. So this is known as atmospheric nitrogen fixation. Now, as we had discussed in the earlier classification table, we had discussed the modes of nutrition in plants, autotrophic and heterotrophic. So, autotrophic we have already discussed. Now we are discussing the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Here we have four types of nutrition. The first one, saprophytic nutrition. In this nutrition, organisms get their food from dead or decaying organisms. They break down the food material outside their body and then absorb it. So here they are dependent on dead and decaying matter. So example of plants which are saprophytic in nature is mushroom, bread mold, yeast and even some bacteria. Next type of nutrition in plants is parasitic. Now we all have heard about many parasites. So here parasites are basically those organisms which get their food from living organisms. So not the dead ones, but the ones who are still living, the alive ones. So the alive organism is their host. So without killing the host, they are actually living on the body of the host or inside the body of the host. So here some examples are given. The examples are cuscuta, orchids, ticks, lice, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm, plasmodium, etc. Then we have the Holozoic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, the organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. So they undergo various steps in order to absorb the nutrition after eating or consuming the other organism. So we have here examples of amoeba, paramecium, birds, fishes and even us, that is human beings. Holozoic nutrition I will be explaining in the next slide also in detail. Okay, before that we will see our fourth one, that is so we have a table of classification depending on the modes of nutrition. So autotrophic we have already discussed. Now we have the heterotrophic. The heterotrophic has three more classifications, that is saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition and holozoic nutrition. So let us see each one of them in detail. Insectivorous plants. So this is the fourth type of nutrition which we are going to learn. So we have this category of plants which are known as insectivorous. Example, pitcher plant. So you can see here the leaf is being modified into a pitcher and the end of the pitcher has the lid which can open and close. When an insect enters the pitcher, the lid closes. So the insect is digested by the digestive juices inside the pitcher. So insectivorous plants are basically those plants which survive on insects for their nourishment. Now these insectivorous plants are present in places where there is less of nitrogen in the soil, and for absorption of nitrogen they eat insects. Okay. So let us learn now about another type of nutrition known as symbiotic nutrition. First, let us see the meaning of the word symbiotic. If I split the word, sym stands for with and bio stands for anything living. So when you have a relationship in which two organisms are mutually benefiting from each other, it is called symbiosis. And this kind of nutrition where they are benefiting from each other is known as symbiotic nutrition. One such example is the example of a lichen, which is an association between algae and fungi. Algae manufactures food and fungi provides water and minerals along with shelter to algae. So here both of them are benefiting from each other and they are growing together. So this is known as a symbiotic mode of nutrition. Let us see what is the meaning of Holozoic nutrition. Now if I split the word holo in Greek means whole and zoics means animals. So this is a type of heterotrophic nutrition that is characterized by the internalization or ingestion and internal processes of gases, liquids or solids or solid food particles. This is the exact meaning of Holozoic nutrition, but let me make it more simpler for you. Basically, all the animals which fall under this category have a proper steps which are followed for food that they are eating. Look at the picture given here. Here the amoeba is taking in food by ingestion. So taking in of food is ingestion. The food is being digested. Then after digestion, whatever nutrients are there, they are absorbed by the organism. Then whatever is the waste is being segregated. So assimilation after absorption, and finally when the unwanted waste is to be thrown out, it is given out by the process of egestion. So whenever any organism follows these steps to get a nourishment or to get nutrition, the organism is said to have holozoic modes of nutrition. So even we fall under this So as we have discussed that animals require nutrients for their growth, similarly even plants require nutrients for their growth and well-being. So here is the list of some nutrients required by the plants, and the why these nutrients are required is given as function and the effect of deficiency. Deficiency means if they are less in amount, if they're taken in less quantities, what will be the outcome of it? So here nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, iron, manganese, zinc. These are the essential nutrients. We usually hear these nutrients when we listen to different components of soil. We have heard of them when we have learned about components of a fertile soil. Okay, so the functions are given in the table. Go through the functions and the effect of its deficiency is also given in front of it. So go through the table in detail. Now let us classify animals on the basis of their eating habits. So we have here 5 groups: herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, parasites and scavengers. So herbivores are the animals that eat plants. For example, cow, goat, sheep, camel, etc. Carnivores are those animals that eat other animals. For example, lion, lizard, etc. Omnivores are those animals which eat plants as well as other animals. For example, dog, human beings, cat. Okay. Then we have the parasites. Now these are the ones who get their food by living inside or outside the body of the other living organisms. So example is lice, tapeworm, ringworm, etc. Then we have the scavengers. These animals which feed on the dead bodies of animals are known as scavengers. So example is vulture, jackal, etc. So these are the We just now discussed what are parasites, right? So parasites are those which feed on other living organism and a live organism on the body or inside the body, right? So here, depending on their presence, whether they are inside the body of the other organism or outside, they can be further classified as ectoparasites and endoparasites. So ecto stands for outside and endo stands for inside. So ectoparasites are those which live on the host body, whereas endoparasites are those which live inside the host body. Okay. So here we come to an end of this chapter. Now the questions to be written for this chapter will be sent to you in a PDF form. You will have to go through the chapter first, read the chapter carefully, then go through the questions and write them in your Fair Science notebook. Okay? Start studying for your unit test. Go through the entire video very patiently. Listen to the audio for each of the slide. Thank you for your attention and happy learning to you all. God bless you and take care.